is here. It is here. 1.17 is here. As of uploading this video, Minecraft 1.17 should be playable on Java and Bedrock editions of the game. That is incredibly exciting, but also there is a lot in this update, and I mean an awful lot in this update to cover. And we are going to touch on absolutely every change that is happening in 1.17, and there is a lot of stuff to cover. I've said that like 8 times. Now, I don't want to start out on a bummer, but there is some things that aren't going to be in 1.17, and I want to cover those now because 1.17, the Caves and Cliffs update is split into 2 parts. So, things that are not going to be in this update: cave generation and cliff generation. Why they decided to keep the name Caves and Cliffs update for 1.17, I don't know. Okay, it should be called the Axolotl and Glow Squid update, because those are the main features of this update, and the copper update. Something else, because it is not, unfortunately, going to be updating the cave generation or the cliff generation. So we're not gonna get any of the cave biomes that I have even discussed in snapshot and development videos that it looked like it was gonna come for us. No, we aren't getting any of the crazy new cave generation, and we are not getting any new cave biomes, and we're not getting any cliff generation at all. Also, to sadly be on the chopping block is archaeology. Archaeology may not even be in 1.18. But we did see a preview of that at a Minecon live, Minecraft, the live stream. Who knows what it's called now? Also, bundles are not going to be in 1.17. Ore veins, which were where like copper or iron would generate these humongous veins of ore, those are not going to be in 1.17. And you may be worried that a lot of the blocks that are going to be in those biomes that are cut, so the Lush cave biome, right? That one's not, the biome's not going to be here, but most of the blocks are going to be in 1.17, with the exception of the spore blossom. So you're going to get your moss, you're going to get your dripstone, your drip leaf, you're going to get all of that, and we're going to cover that later on in the video. But the spore blossom, sorry, there's no way to get that in 1.17, so not, at least not in survival. I hope that they like throw it in like a shipwreck chest or something, but as of now, there's no way to get the spore blossom. So let's start off with the actual things that are 1.17, and we're going to start with world generation. For this, I'm going to give myself some night vision. So as we head down into the depths of the caves, you'll notice there are a few things different. Right here, right off the bat, we are looking at copper. Copper now generates in the world, and we're going to talk a little bit more about copper later on. Also, you may see these purple things in the ground. These are amethysts, and I have one up at the thing that we'll take a look at, but these amethysts now generate underground. You'll also notice around here, we have a little bit of dripstone blocks and dripstone there. We got like that stalactite hanging up on that wall there. And then this right here, this is glow mica. And glow mica will just randomly generate basically everywhere underground. And to look at that, I'm going to actually turn off my night vision. And you can see that it outputs a little bit of light. And so glow mica is this really, really cool block that I love because it adds a lot of atmosphere into the caves now. You can kind of see a little bit of stuff later on where before, if you're trying to look down a cave, a lot of times you just wouldn't be able to see anything because it was just straight up dark. And so now glow mica will hang on the walls. You can bone meal it to get more, and it will just add some atmosphere to your caves. I'm not going to cover this again, so just a few more facts about glow mica. It gives off a light level of 7. You can obtain it with some shears, and it can be waterlogged. Now, it looks like a vine, but you can't climb it. So don't try any crazy parkour courses where you're grabbing onto this vine. That won't work. Also, generating down way at the bottom. So you can see this is the end of the world here. So we're really far down. You see a new block, and this is Deepslate. And we're going to cover a lot about Deepslate later on, but you can see Deepslate. You can even see some ore variants of Deepslate. So we have some diamond and Deepslate diamond, which is pretty cool. We also have this block, which is tuff. Tuff is just this is basically it. You're looking at it. It doesn't even make stairs or anything else. It's just a new block. It generates in blobs close to 0 of your world. Y0 of your world. And that's basically it for world generation. There's no new biomes. There's nothing changed with, say, villages or something like that. So that's it. Now let's cover this structure. Basically, the only other thing about world generation is that there are new structures, and that happens to be these amethyst geodes. So these will generate underground like we saw before, and they have a few different layers. So the outer layer is smooth basalt, which is a new variant of the basalt block that we saw in the nether originally. Next, the inner layer is calcite, which is a new white block, which is kind of cool. Looks pretty cool. Like we could make some nice builds with that. And then the inner layer is a block of amethyst. And then inside of that block of amethyst, you're going to find this block every once in a while. It almost looks like a cracked variation of the amethyst block, but this is budding amethyst. So the budding amethyst block will generate amethyst buds, which it gets confusing because it's the budding amethyst block that makes amethyst buds. So is it budding amethyst or is that budding amethyst? I don't know, okay? They're the same budding amethyst. This budding amethyst block will generate the budding amethyst on the face of one of these like cracked variants, okay? So you can see right here, they're kind of starting. In fact, I broke these earlier in this world, and they're just now generating some new amethyst buds. And these will grow over time from like small, medium, large, and then full crystals. The best way that I can determine what is a full crystal and what is still a budding amethyst is you almost have these two tiers. I can see that like white texture right there. It looks like we have like one your upper tier and then an even upper tier, like a lower tier and an upper tier. Here are the buds in my my hot tray down there. And I'm going to just throw them down right here so you can kind of get an idea of their growth stages. It's like a castle, okay? The thing is massive. It's like, okay, that one is ready to be harvested. So those are the 4 growth stages of those budding amethysts. Now, you can mine this stuff. So right here, I have some amethyst shards, amethyst cluster, and a block of amethyst, but I also have 2 picks. One happens to have silk touch on it, so we're going to switch into survival mode. So I can just mine up this amethyst block. It will drop the block of amethyst, so I could use that in my builds. Now, when it comes to the budding amethyst block, or the amethyst bud block, I don't know how you say it, you cannot mine these up. And I mean, you just can't do it, okay? So here I am with a non-silk touch pick, and if I try to mine it, it just disappears. It is just gone. It just breaks forever. If I use the silk touch pick, same thing, okay? That thing is just gone. There's no way to move this block from one location to another. You got to keep them there. And remember, these blocks are the ones that make these crazy amethyst buds on top of them, and you want these because you want to harvest them. So these little ones that haven't gotten to the largest, they haven't fully grown yet. If you try to break them, they will just break. Well, actually, I used a silk touch here, so they will. It'll drop itself as its small little thingy. If you use a non-silk touch here, which one? That one's not fully grown. It'll just break. It's just gone. And the same thing with my hand. If I use my hand on it, it'll just break. And it is gone. By the way, there's really cool sounds going on this whole time in the background. So those little buds, you can really only use silk touch on them to get them back, but you want to wait until they get to full size, and then you can use your pickaxe on it, and it will drop shards. So I had 12 before. I'm going to take all these shards and I'm going to throw them in there so you can kind of see. These full ones, if you break it with your pick, you get 4 shards. You can also break them with your hand, but you get less shards. You're only going to get 2. So we have 4 now. I got 2, so now I have 6. You can also use fortune on these shards. So if you have a pick that has the fortune enchantment, you can use fortune to get this. Remember, you cannot break the buds to get these blocks. Just don't do it, okay? Because you're not going to get them back. Also, these shards can be crafted into the block of amethyst, and we have a few other uses for these amethyst shards a little bit later on. But use fortune to harvest these guys up to get tons of shards. Oh, also, your silk touch will work on any of the stages, so even this big boy stage here, you can get the full amethyst cluster, which just looks awesome. This also does give off light, so if you want to use this in your build to give off light, you can put it on a block and just have a really cool light source, which is nice. We are moving on and going to talk about some mobs. The new mobs of Minecraft 1.17. We're going to start off with axolotls. These you've probably seen these. They've been talked about a lot. They're super duper adorable. They are the cutest little predator that ever did exist in Minecraft. These guys will spawn when the world spawns in groups underground in water. Now, remember that the caves haven't been updated. So actually finding a pool of water underground that even has the chance to spawn these guys is going to be pretty rare. But when you do find one of those pools of water underground, then that is when you have the chance to actually have an axolotl spawn. That happens right at world generation, that they could spawn in groups, but also after world generation, they have the chance to spawn individually. Once they spawn, you can catch them inside of a bucket, just like you can a tropical fish or any, the cod or the salmon or whatever. And then you can put them out of the bucket as well. And so they look like this inside of their little bucket, and they are just super adorable. Okay, that's just the cutest darn thing I ever did see. There are 5 different colors. So you have the leucistic. Oh my gosh. I literally went to an axolotl place that sells axolotls, and they talked all about it, and I still can't even remember how. Leucistic. Okay, I'm too dyslexic for this. You got your pink variety, you got your brown variety, you have your gold variety, and you have your cyan variety. But rarest of all is the blue variant, which is like a 1 in 1,000 chance that it will spawn. Because in 1.17, these guys are super duper rare anyway. The chance of one of these guys naturally spawning is so minuscule, itty bitty. But the good news is if you get 2 of them and breed them together, there will always be a 1 in 1,200% or 1,200 chance that one of these blue ones will spawn. So given enough spawns between these guys, you still have the chance to get the blue variant. How do you breed them up? Well, you need to use a bucket with a tropical fish in it. Can't just be a raw tropical fish. It needs to be a bucket with a tropical fish in it, which is just a little bit difficult to, they don't stack and they kind of fill up your inventory. It's a little bit annoying, but these guys are super cute, so it's worth it. Now, I mentioned that they're predators. They will attack a ton of stuff, fish, squids, all sorts of stuff. They will ignore a few friendly things like dolphins or turtles, but they really get upset with guardians and elder guardians. So if you grab a few of these guys in buckets and take them to an ocean monument, they will really be your friend. Whenever they're attacked and they take damage, they will play dead for a little while. There's sort of a cool off for that, and they'll get regeneration because in real life, they can regenerate limbs. And if you're fighting alongside an axolotl and you kill the mob that it is currently attacking, it will give you regeneration and remove a mining fatigue effect if you have that effect applied, which you probably do inside of an ocean monument. So take them to an ocean monument and they're awesome. If you want to know more about these axolotls, I have an entire video all about the axolotl. It's super funny. I spent a lot of time on it, so you can check that video out as well. We're going to move on to goats. So goats currently will spawn in the mountainous ranges. So any biome that has mountain in the name, that is where they're going to spawn. That's probably a placeholder until we get the awesome mountains in the Caves and Cliffs update part 2. These little guys can jump like so high. Like I had to put a roof on them because they just jump like crazy. In fact, we're gonna open this roof up. We'll just see where they go. They can jump up to 10 blocks high, which is the highest jump of any mob in Minecraft without effects. And they do take a less damage when they fall, so they have a reduced fall damage. There he goes. Holy moly, he's out of there. You can breed these guys with wheat, and you can also milk them with a bucket like you would a cow, but it's goat. So it's goat milk. It's still milk. It's not like called goat milk when you milk them, but you can milk them. There's a 2% chance when they spawn that you will get a screaming goat, which is like a human scream. It is horrible and not great. Those goats will be more aggressive towards players. And every once in a while, they'll try to like knock a player off. They'll like charge at the player and hit them. So, you know, you got to be aware. Now, Bedrock players, they get an exclusive. I'm currently playing on Java Edition, so we're not going to get to see that. But if you're on Bedrock, when a goat charges at you, if you move out of the way and the goat ends up hitting a solid block, there's a chance that its horn will break off. And you can actually see it update in the model of the goat. There'll be a horn missing, and there'll be a horn on the ground, which you can use to blow like a horn call, which is super duper awesome. So if you're on Bedrock Edition, you can have fun with that. Goats can snap off a horn twice because they only have 2 horns, and then their model will literally be missing both horns, and then they can't do it again. Now, let's talk about glow squid. So glow squid was the winning mob in the mob vote. We originally saw this mob in Minecraft Earth. Now it is in the actual game. So glow squid is basically normal squid with a texture update and a different drop. So glow squid will glow in the dark. And so I kind of have this area set up right here with some glow squid. And basically all that happens is that they ignore the light level. So you can see that zombie. Maybe you can see it. He's super duper dark. And there's a skeleton, but then there's also some squid up in that area. And so they will ignore the darkness and their textures will just shine through however dark they are. And that's the same with Enderman eyes or Phantom eyes. And I think some magma cubes have the same sort of thing. So they don't affect the environment around them, but they will stand out from anything else around them. Currently, they will spawn underground whenever it is completely dark in pools of water. I suspect that the best way to get these in your what is going on here? Glow squid is glitching out. The best way to probably get this is to create almost like a glow squid farm once you're in your world, and try to spawn them in that way, because they can't be bred. They just have to naturally generate underground in complete darkness. Whenever you kill one, it will drop a glow ink sac. Instead of just a normal ink sac, it is a glow ink sac. And holy moly, the glow ink sacs are the best. So you're really going to want to farm these guys to get them because they are so cool. Let me show you a few things that you can do with glow ink sacs. First off is that you can make an item frame that also glows. So you just take that glow ink sac with an item frame and you get a glow item frame. I have one right here. And what happens is in the middle of the night, and yes, good. I don't have my night vision on, just making sure. It'll do the same thing that the mob was doing, which it'll just stand out. It will not worry about the light level of the things that are around it. My glow squid like to glitch out of this pen I have them in. It's so weird. So that's what the item frame does. Here, I have a map in an item frame, and I have a map in a glow item frame. So this is the normal item frame, this is the glow item frame, and you can see the light level difference. It just completely ignores the fact that it is super dark around here. You can also take these and attach them to signs. So let's take a glow ink sac, attach it to the sign, and then all of a sudden, the sign text now ignores all of the light level. And you can color this, and I absolutely love that. This is like one of my favorite features. I think I'm gonna do this to every sign I own, whether or not I even care if it stands out in the middle of the night, because it really makes the text so much better and so much easier to read. So it adds an outline, and then the inner part is like really, really bright. So I did that here with a dark gray and then a light gray right here. If you want to get rid of the color, you have to hit it with black, and then it goes back to its default, which is this black with the white outline. Here's an example of a sign that hasn't been hit with the glow ink sac. This one is the light gray, this is the darker gray, and down here is the same colors, but with the glowing effect applied. So it is an incredible difference, and I absolutely love these new signs and the item frames. Okay, we are done with mobs. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about texture updates. There are more texture updates than I'm going to cover right now, like the clock and the compass, but this one I really want to point out. This is the old textures for all of the ores. I'm using the texture pack to bring them all in. And these are the new textures. So all ores have new textures. And then we also have the Deepslate variants of all of those ores as well. Whether or not the ore generates in a Deepslate area, it doesn't matter. They get a Deepslate version, which is kind of nice. So the only texture to really keep the silhouette of itself is the diamond right here. Well, I guess Lapis Lapis kind of kept it as well. But diamond is the only one to really keep that original silhouette of the texture. Gold completely updated, iron completely updated, emerald, redstone, and coal are all look very, very different than how they used to look. And this is to help those who want to differentiate between all of these ores. You can see that each one of it's just like a retexture of the same thing, right? You got that little dot up in the corner. You have this little blob right here. Dot, blob, dot, blob. Like every single one of these is basically the same, just a different color. And so now the silhouette of the ore inside of the block is very different, so that you should be able to tell the difference a little bit easier. So these are our new textures. Those are the old ones. Say goodbye to the old ones, unless you play on programmer art. Okay, next, the category is blocks. We're going to cover all the blocks. And basically, this is the biggest category, and there's a little bit of item stuff later on. So you already saw Deepslate, but I want to talk about it a little bit more. Here's just plain old Deepslate, and this is sort of like a log where you can place it in a direction. So, you know, I can put it all around, or I could set it up here. So it has a different texture on the top than it does on the sides. So Deepslate is a directional block. Deepslate can be mined, and when it is mined without silk touch, it will drop cobbled Deepslate. I want to say Deepslate cobblestone, but anyway, it's cobbled Deepslate is what it drops as long as you're not using silk touch. And then you get all the Deepslate variants, and there are a ton of them. So I'm just going to cover them. So we got the cobbled Deepslate, then we have the polished Deepslate, then we have Deepslate bricks, and we have a cracked variation of that. Then we have Deepslate tiles and a cracked variation of Deepslate tiles. And then to round it all out, we get this chiseled Deepslate, which kind of looks like a comparator or something like, or an observer or dispenser. I don't know. It looks like some redstone thing without the redstone inside of it. So these are all the different variations that you're going to get. And on the cobbled, the polished, the brick, and the tile, you get the stair variations, the slab variations, and the wall variations. You don't get cracked versions of that, and you also don't get it with the chiseled variation as well. So you get basically all of the building blocks that you want. Sorry, Deepslate, normal Deepslate, you don't get those things, but cobbled all the way through tile, they do. I tried to maybe add like a little like icon on like how to obtain it up here, so like you can smelt this to get, actually I guess I did it wrong. Anyway, you can use all of these in the stone cutter. So if I take the stone cutter and I take cobbled Deepslate and throw it in, you can see that we get the cobbled Deepslate variations. We even get the chiseled option, the brick, the tile, and then down here is the polished. So the stone cutter will allow us to get all the variations of the different deep slate, except for normal deep slate. So if you take normal old deep slate, not the cobbled, you don't get anything in the stone cutter. So you have to use cobbled in order to get that. To get the cracked variations, you need to take the uncracked and then throw it into a furnace to get the cracked. You're not going to get that from the stone cutter. So the ones with the stone cutter icon, you get from the stone cutter, and then the things with the furnace, you get from the furnace. Now, if you're wondering, okay, but like, how do I get it without a stone cutter if I don't have a stone cutter? Well, to get deep slate, you would just pick up normal deep slate. It's going to turn into cobbled when you pick it up with your pick, and you have to put that into a furnace. So that's how you get normal deep slate from cobbled deep slate. Cobbled deep slate in a crafting table, if you put it in a 4 setup where it's just 2 by 2, then you get the polished variation. So we'll pull that out. If you take the polished variation, do the same thing, you get the brick variation. If you take the brick variation and do the same thing, you get the tile variation. And then all the other recipes are exactly the same, and tile is where it stops. So all you have to do is put it in a 2 by 2, and you get the next variation of deep slate in if you want to use the crafting table instead of a stone cutter. Also, if you want this normal deep slate, you can just use silk touch when you get it. Also, deep slate, if I haven't said, generates between 0 and 16 on the Y level. Now, let's move on to copper. Copper is a new ore in Minecraft. That seems like a huge deal, but for some reason, it's like, I don't know. I think I've just gotten used to the idea that there's going to be copper in Minecraft. I mean, iron, gold, now we have copper. That's incredible, but it's just kind of like natural. Like, oh yeah, we also got copper. So copper will generate between 0 and 96. So it'll generate basically everywhere in the world. When you mine it, you get the raw variation of copper, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. So it'll drop raw copper, you smelt that up, and then you get a copper ingot. Those ingots can be turned into blocks. So we got our copper blocks here. By the way, this is raw copper. You throw that into a furnace and you get your copper ingots. Then we take our copper ingots and we craft them into blocks like so. Then we take those blocks and we can craft them into cut copper. And then each of these we can craft into, say, stairs. Where's the stairs? Oh yeah, that's the only cut copper thing. So you take your cut copper and then make those into stairs. There you go. You can make them into slabs. There we go. Oh my gosh, I'm forgetting how to craft and whatnot. So here are all the variations. You got your normal blocks, you got your cut copper blocks, you got your cut copper stairs, and you got the same thing in the stairs. Now, copper ages just like the Statue of Liberty. It'll turn green over time. So you got your normal copper. This is exposed copper. Then you have a weathered copper, and then you have oxidized copper. So those are the 4 stages of copper. This happens over an incredibly long amount of time. This whole setup took me forever to make, and over here, these copper pieces that I put down are only just now getting to the first step of oxidation. And I don't think I have any on the second step of oxidation, but it does take a while for these copper blocks to fully oxidize. Now, that means that your blocks are changing all the time. Oh my gosh, they are updating and changing their color. So if you don't want them to update and change, kind of like how I didn't want them to update and change while I was recording this video, you can encase your copper in wax. So you use honeycomb to do that. Now, these are all already waxed, so in order to remove the wax from the copper, you right-click with a axe. That basically shears off the wax on, and you can see the particles, and there's kind of this weird, like thing from the wax. So gross. Anyway, you take your honeycomb and you can throw it onto the copper if you want to encase it in wax to stop the weathering process from happening. And you can do that with all the different types of slabs and blocks. And that is how you stop oxidation, is to use honeycomb. And you can start it back up again with an axe and just right click on the block. Now, I mentioned raw copper. What the heck is this? Well, we are now in the world of raw ores. And this is a change, a big change in 1.17. So it used to be that if you were to mine your iron ore, it would drop the block. So if you mined iron ore, an iron ore block would be the result that you would get. But that is no longer the case in 1.17. So now, if you take your iron, and I'm going to just grab just a humble little netherite pick right here, switch into survival mode, and mine this up, you can see that instead of dropping the block, it will now drop a raw iron. Now, this respects fortune, which is completely new. So now you can fortune iron, which you were never able to do. In fact, you can fortune copper, or you can fortune gold. So you can use your fortune picks to get more drops out of these blocks. So I just added fortune 3. I'm going to get rid of my iron. Get out of there. And we can mine that and mine that. And we got 7. We got 7 iron from 2 blocks. Now, that also means that your inventory is probably going to fill up with blocks if you're using fortune on everything. So I would suggest, just like how I kind of do with diamonds or redstone, is I take a silk touch pick mining, I pick up all the things with silk touch, and then when I get home, I use my fortune 3 pick to break everything apart so that my inventory is compact while I'm mining, and then it expands when I'm home using my fortune 3. And all of these raw ore variations can be made into raw blocks. So we have our raw block of copper, or block of raw copper, I guess is the appropriate term. We also have that in iron, and we also have that in gold now. So now we can use these blocks as building blocks, and they look, this copper one specifically kind of looks like a really cool pathway with the green in there. It kind of reminds me of grass. Moving right along away from the raw copper and raw materials, let's talk about all the things that are in the Lush cave biome and in the dripstone biome. So if you remember, the Lush cave is not happening. We are not going to be getting any Lush cave biomes, but all of the blocks are still in 1.17. So how can we get the blocks that are supposed to be in a biome that doesn't exist? How are we going to get these blocks? Well, I'll cover that in just a moment. But first, let me cover the blocks themselves. First is moss. So this is the moss block. You can use this in a few crafting recipes to get like mossy cobblestone and stuff. Moss also has moss carpet, which is like a carpet style block of moss. Next is a rooted dirt, which is a dirt variant, kind of like coarse dirt. And rooted dirt will sprout some roots if you take bone meal and you bone meal it. So there you go. You got your roots right there. You can use shears to get those roots if you want to use that in any type of build. You can also bone meal moss. So if I take this block, put it right here, and then I bone meal it, bam! There you go. We got all sorts of stuff growing here. We have moss carpet. We have azalea bushes, which I haven't even got to yet. And so you can see that it just like went crazy with moss. In fact, it changed these stone into moss itself. So moss just can go crazy when you bone meal it. These are azaleas, and I think of them as azalea bushes, even though it's just the flowering azalea and the azalea. That's the technical term for them, but I like to call them azalea bushes because we also have an azalea tree, which I'll get to in a moment. So the azalea are supposed to spawn in the Lush cave biomes, but we don't have that biome in this update yet. So you can get it from bone mealing moss, which we just did, and you saw that it created some azalea. Now azalea cannot be put on anything, on everything, I should say. So it can't be put on stone, but you can put it on moss, and you can put it on dirt, and you can put it on grass. So there's a few things. If you're like trying to put it on an iron block or something like that, you might not be able to put an azalea down. You'll have to switch the thing that it's sitting on to one of its appropriate blocks. So those are the bushes, and you get them from bone mealing the moss block. But they also make trees, and how you get that is by bone mealing one of the bushes, and it will make an azalea tree. And the azalea tree has these really cool flowering azalea leaves, as well as their own just azalea leaf. So you can get all those variations to decorate your home with as well. The flowering azalea bush and the azalea bush, there's really no difference other than the texture. So you have a chance of getting either of them whenever you bone meal some moss. Whenever you break the leaves of this tree, you get a chance of getting an azalea bush as a result, sort of like a sapling, but there are no saplings for this tree. It is the bush that's the sapling. Next is the drip leaf. So we have two variations of drip leaf. We have the large drip leaf and we have the small drip leaf. Small drip leaf is supposed to generate in the lush cave biomes, but obviously we don't have them. And then the large drip leaf happens when you bone meal a small drip leaf. And this one, when you stand on it in just a moment, it'll break and causing the player to fall through. So you can kind of make a crazy course, and then they'll repair themselves. So you can make like a parkour course with these things right here, which is kind of cool. So, I guess we have to cover, we got our dripstone, which is the stalagmites or stalactites. We have our dripstone block. And then we also have the glowberries. So this, as we saw in the world generation segment, will generate in the world naturally. So you can harvest some of these from the world, and the block itself can be made from some dripstone right here. So you take 4 of these, and you go bloop, and then you get your dripstone block as a result. You can grow dripstone yourself by having a single layer of the dripstone block and then putting the pointed dripstone underneath. And as the waterfall goes through, it will start to grow this dripstone. Dripstone can be dangerous if you break it and it falls. If that hits you, that can hurt. And you can just place down dripstone right here and just like grow it. It looks like it's growing, but you're just placing it. You can do that in survival mode. These can also hurt people if you fall on them. I mean, they're pointy. They're just basically pointy, so be aware. You can take a trident and you can break the dripstone, the pointed dripstone, if you want, and that will cause it to fall, causing a chain reaction of death and destruction. So you got to be careful with that stuff. And finally is glowberries. Now, glowberries are this vine right here, and we can use bone meal to make them grow a little bit faster. So we can just smack that with bone meal, and then we take our hand and we right click it, and it harvests the berries just like the sweet berry bushes do in the taiga biomes. So that is sweet berries, and these will generate light whenever you're underground, or I guess wherever you decide to put them. So these are light generating vegetation, which is a really, really cool thing. And that with the amethyst crystals, I want to decorate my house in these light-emitting things, so it seems mysterious, really cool. So I kept teasing, how do you get all this stuff? How is it that we're going to get all of these blocks without actually having the biome that generates them? Well, there's a few different ways. With the dripstone, you should be able to just come across it every once in a while in the normal caves. Everything else, you should be able to get with wandering traders. And it gets a little bit complicated. So like this wandering trader here, he sells the moss. So you get 2 moss blocks from this wandering trader. Then you can bone meal the moss to make more. And then you get the azalea bushes. The azalea bush, when you put it down, by the way, when it generates a tree, it'll make the rooted dirt. You can also get the rooted dirt from the wandering trader, but that's another way to generate rooted dirt. So you get your moss, you bone meal it, you get some azalea, you bone meal that, you get some rooted dirt, which is great. For the drip leaf, that is also traded by the wandering trader. The hanging roots, you can get that by bone mealing the rooted dirt block, and the rooted dirt block can be traded from a wandering trader. Now, the glowberries are kind of the hardest thing And these guys are only found in chests inside of mine shafts. So the abandoned mine shafts will have a chest in them every once in a while, and they'll have the glow berries inside of there. So you are not able to get them from the wandering traders. And one more thing is that moss can be obtained in shipwreck chests. And I really, really, really wish that the spore blossom could be found in those chests as well, because this gives off this really, really cool particle, and I would absolutely love to play with this, but currently it doesn't look like there's a way to get the spore blossom in without creative mode. Holy moly, we've covered so much, and there's still so much left to cover. All right, now let's just talk about candles. Candles are now in Minecraft, and they come in all of the different colors that you know and love from Minecraft. So you have basically original candles without any color, and then white through all of the colors of the rainbow that we have in the rainbow that we have access to in Minecraft. Candles can be placed basically like sea pickles, okay? If you remember sea pickles, it's basically how candles work. You can put 1 down, 2, 3, or 4. It maxes out at 4 candles. And the more candles, the more light is created once you light them with flint and steel. Here's all of the lighted textures up above. They do have a different texture if they're lit versus unlit. So you really, really see the difference in the black candle right here. There's a really orange texture right at the top where there isn't one when it isn't lit. If you're in survival mode, you can right-click a candle to put it out, so that you're almost like snuffing out the candle there, and then you do need your flint and steel to get it to relight. Candles are crafted with honeycomb and string. Basically, how would you expect? Honeycomb and string, and there you go. Now you have your candle, and that creates just a normal candle. And if you want to color it, just add any color of dye to that, and it will make the dyed candle. You can add a candle to a cake. It's super adorable, and there you go. You can light that on fire too, and have it, for a birthday party. If you eat the cake, any amount of the cake, the candle will pop off. So, well, I guess I'm not hungry right now, but I can do it in the creative mode. Boop. There you go. And the candle has left the cake. The candle has left the building. And you can't put the candle back on the cake once it has a slice taken out of it. Powdered snow. I can make a whole video just on powdered snow, but powdered snow is a new block in Minecraft. It's supposed to generate in the snowier snow on top of the mountains, but we don't have mountains, so we just have powdered snow. The way to obtain powdered snow normally would probably be to go out and find it on a mountain, but you can also collect it in cauldrons. So just like how you can collect water in cauldrons when it rains, you can collect snow in cauldrons when it snows. So you have to go to the top of a mountain that's cold or a cold biome, so that when it is snowing, you can collect the snow in the cauldron. Then you use a bucket to pull the snow out of the cauldron, and then you have powdered snow in a bucket. Powdered snow in a bucket is the only version of powdered snow. There's no block of powdered snow. It is just powdered snow in a bucket, and that is how you put it down. And then when you want to pick it up, you get another bucket. I really wish buckets would stack to 64, and you pick it up with the bucket to remove it. Powdered snow will freeze entities, players, mobs, all the things. And so when you stand in it, you get this really, really cool freezing effect. And you also move a lot slower when you're in the snow. And you can see this frost on the edge of my screen, which is really, really cool. If you're in survival mode and you do this and you get all the way to freezing, it takes a little while, your hearts will change to frozen and you'll start to take damage from the powdered snow until you get out of it. You sink in powdered snow. So if I were to jump on top of this powdered snow, I'd sink all the way through, and I can't jump out of it either. The way to avoid that is to put on the leather boots, and then you won't sink into powdered snow. I can still sink into it when I crouch, and I can jump now out of it. So basically, powder snow's enemy is leather boots. There you go. And this leather will also stop me from freezing inside of the powdered snow as well. It's basically like a coat. This leather also works for horses. My horse ran away. It's over there with leather armor on, and that'll stop the horse from freezing as well. Skeletons have a special ability inside of powdered snow to change. So once the skeleton has been in the powdered snow for a while, and I'm going to spawn a few of them because I'm not sure if these guys are going to leave the powdered snow or not. But they may not leave because they'll burn up in the sun if they leave. But you can see they start to shiver for a little while, and then given enough time, they will change into a stray, which is the frozen variation of the skeleton. Oh, there we go. Stray, what are you doing? You're just leaving. Okay, well, see you later. So there you go. Now we have a stray variation of the skeleton because they froze. This is very, very similar to the zombies underwater, how they turned into drowned. I had to remember that. Drowned. They turned into drowned. So I think that is super duper cool. Now I need them to go away. Leave me, strays. I don't need you anymore. Next is the lightning rod. Lightning rod can be crafted. Oh, what? No, we're not at that yet. It can be crafted with some copper ingots. 3 copper ingots on top of each other. That will make a lightning rod. If lightning strikes in a 32 block radius, then it will be attracted to the lightning rod instead of where it was originally going to hit. And it will make sure to not cause fires as well. If it, if it was going to strike on some wood thing, well, now it's in a lightning rod. The lightning rod will output a redstone signal when struck. It'll be a redstone signal of 15, so you can tell, like you can set up like a test to see, did lightning hit it? Next, we're almost at the end, folks. We have tinted glass. Tinted glass is like normal glass. You can see through it, except it doesn't let any light through. So we have a zombie here hanging out inside of his tinted glass home. The moment I break the top of this, he will start to die to fire. This is going to be super duper useful when you are making grinders. And there's a lot of times when I have a spawner on the other side of glass that I really want to see what's going on in there, but I can't look in without causing the light to spill into that room. So now tinted glass is the way that you fix that. It's also a really interesting variation of glass that you can mine it, and it doesn't just break. Before, glass, you have to pick it up with silk touch, otherwise it breaks. Tinted glass is different in that you can just pick it up with your hand, and it will always drop itself, which is nice. Here's how you make it. You grab a normal glass, and you put it in the center of the crafting table, and then you take amethyst shards and you put them on the 4 corners, and that will make 2 tinted glass for each of that recipe. There's one other thing that you can use these shards for, these amethyst shards for, and that is a spyglass. I'm still in survival mode, so you can see, look at that. I can just I spy something way over there. We're on to the items section, and this is really like the only item that we're going to cover because there's not a lot of items in the game. So the spyglass is very, very useful. It really zooms in really, really far. It basically just takes 1/10 of whatever your normal FOV is. So here's your FOV right here. So there's always like the poor man's spyglass, which is to take your FOV and take it down to 30, and you can kind of see far away, and then you can put it back if you want. So that takes 1/10 of whatever the FOV is. So if I'm at 70, which is normal, now I'm at a 7-degree FOV right here. That means that if you change your FOV, that you can actually see closer. So right here I have this little test set up. I'm zooming in, and you can see the white outline of that red square. But if I take my FOV and take it to 30 and then zoom in again, you can see that I can't even see the white outline. So it zooms in even closer if you need that. If you really have to spy something, look at that coal way over there. Holy moly, super easy to see. So if you have to get even a bigger boost, you can still use that FOV trick in order to zoom in even closer. But this zooms in so close already. I just don't I don't see a use for even closer. Here's how you make it. You take copper and amethyst shards, and you put them on top of each other like that. 2 copper, 1 amethyst shard, and then you get spyglass. I did not need that many spyglasses. We'll just set those away. Next, we are going to be getting into sort of the very last dregs of the update. This is a creative tool, and it is light. The light! Let there be light. I'm so excited about this. This is actually a really, really, really cool addition to the game. So, right here, there is no torch, but there is light being emitted. Same thing, you kind of see these little wells of light right there. There's a new block, which is called the light block, which is similar to barrier blocks, and that you cannot see it until you are holding that item specifically. So you can see that there is a light block right there. It acts just like air to everything else. It seems like an air block, except that it is giving off light, and then it just goes away when you're not holding the light block itself. You can also change the output of the light block. So holding down Control here on Java Edition, I can pick a block using with its NBT intact. And so this NBT data has this at a light level of 5, and this one over here. I'm not to you, shulk sensors. Get out of here. This one has an NBT of, is it also 5? Oh, I guess it's also 5. That one is also an NBT of 5. You can change that by right-clicking on a light block while holding the light with your hand. So you can see that it goes up, and I'm like, oh, I like that. And then I can hold down Control, click it, and that's light level 11. So you can change the intensity of the light by clicking it with light, which is really, really, really cool. I love that. Last, and sort of least, is the skulk sensor. So the warden is not going to be, I forgot to mention that. The warden isn't going to be part of this update. So no deep dark, no warden, none of that. But for some reason, we still have the skulk sensor in the give command. So we still have it. Redstone people can use it if they want to, but here it is. It detects vibrations, so as you move up to it, your vibrations, your player walking or doing anything, will set off the skulk sensor. You can also see there's like a redstone sort of particle coming off of it. It'll set off a redstone signal as well. If you crouch, it won't cause any issues, and so there you go. If you run around, you can see that they all sort of light up, which is nice. And wool will stop the vibration from moving through. So you can kind of see that as I move to the other side of this wool, that the sensors on the other side will start to light up as I go around the block. It kind of stops all those vibrations from moving from one side to another. Also, if I was to set the wool block down, it doesn't create a vibration, but if I were to put another block down, it does create a vibration. These are still being developed. They're here, but I don't think they're really going to be used for much, but I do want to let y'all know these are in 1.17. And that is it! Holy moly! 1.17 has a lot of stuff in it, an awful lot of stuff in it. I'm still upset that it is broken into 2 updates. It makes it very confusing that the Cave and Cliff update doesn't have any caves and cliffs, and 1.18 is going to have the caves and cliffs in it. But I'm glad that we're getting an update. I'm so glad that this is built into Minecraft. Every feature that we are getting is so cool and so nice, so I'm really, really, really excited about this update, even though, I just wish it could be better. But props to the Minecraft team for making it what it is, because they should be so proud, because this is just a great update. Thanks so much for watching this super long video. If you're still sticking around with me, I'll be making updates about everything, going into more detail about each and every thing that I'm covering in this video. There's a lot of stuff I had to gloss over, so make sure you subscribe for future videos. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, leave a comment down below. I love all that stuff, and I'll catch you in another video. See you later. Bye.